Please rise for invocation by Chaplain Carlos Hidalgo of Advent Health Mission and Ministry, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Almighty God, we have come to this meeting to make decisions for our community. We pray for wisdom and guidance over our leaders as they make these decisions. May we act in accordance to what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
God bless you all.
Thank you, Chaplain. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Time to play ball. Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Ruggs?
Present.
Councilman Master?
Here.
Councilman Stover?
Here.
Vice Mayor Foley?
Here.
Mayor Burnett?
Here. All are present, and we have a quorum. That brings us to recognition and proclamations. The first one is Manufacturing Month. Representatives from the VMA are here if you guys want to come on up to the podium. I'm going to read the proclamation, and then we'll come down there and join you and present.
Fantastic, thank you.
It's a good thing Jane's with you.
I know.
Make you all look good. Whereas October is designated Manufacturing Month to recognize and promote the success of U.S. manufacturers in the global marketplace. And whereas the Volusia Manufacturers Association will kick off the month celebrating National Manufacturing Day on October 6, 2023 with We Make It Here Day, and continue with events throughout the month as an effective way to expand knowledge about the value manufacturing brings to Volusia County's economy and to showcase the high-skilled, high-wage jobs offered by the industry. And whereas manufacturing is a valuable and important component of our economy in Florida, and where Volusia County is home to over 500 manufacturing companies that employ over 12,000 people in the region, paying an average annual wage of $61,354 and contributing over $1.3 billion to the county's gross domestic product. And whereas by working together with education, manufacturers will address the skilled labor shortage they face, connect with future generations, build the next generation of skilled manufacturing employees, take charge of the public image of manufacturing, and ensure the ongoing prosperity of the whole industry. Now therefore, I, Donald O. Burnett, Mayor of the City of Port Orange, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 as Manufacturing Month in the City of Port Orange, and I urge all of our citizens to join in recognizing the value of our manufacturers and the importance they serve in our county, state, and nation. And with my signature and the seal of the city, it is so proclaimed on this day and in this place. And council, if you'll join me below for the presentation. There's no way that I'm going to stand with this group without my counsel in this picture.
You guys want to slide back over this way a little bit? Sure. A little bit more space here.
Slide in just a little bit
We don't have the best photo chamber.
Hold that. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you guys.
All right, and we have something for you.
Something that's very important, every single one of you need to know exactly how many manufacturers we have, what they do, and so inside this bag are our manufacturing cards. So when you're bored and you're playing cards with your friends, there's names on them.
Alright, okay.
Then you get to see and check out how many manufacturers we have in our area.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
Well, I've got nothing better to do when I'm sitting back in the mayor's office.
Oh, yeah.
I can play cards. I'm really studying. I'm really studying.
Not while you're working.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say, I'm excited to have something to do during council comments.
I know this. That's what you guys do. It's important and
Call on
vital.
him first,
See, this is important stuff. We can't joke around. Not too much anyway. No, seriously. We can laugh all day long, but what the VMA does is they represent a large segment of the economy in Volusia County. But Port Orange, a lot of times, is overlooked. you go down to Eastport, or you go out to the west side of the city, and what we have out here is a gold mine for people. And the reason why we have a community that a lot of people want to live in is because they can get gainful employment, and what you guys contributed is absolutely fantastic. And now, if you want to laugh about it, then great, but I ain't laughing, I'm smiling big. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, very nice of you.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. Thank you.
Next year, make sure Port Orange Family Days is not the first Saturday in
Ah.
October. Second Saturday in October, sorry.
I had to miss the robot brawl, and I got one jab in right there, right at the end. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you all.
No, that's cool.
Very cool.
Florida City Government Week. Whereas city government and the government is the government closest to most citizens and one of the most direct daily impact upon its residents. And whereas city government is admired for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public commitment to and understanding of its many responsibilities. And whereas city government officials and employees share the responsibility to pass along their understanding of public service and their benefits. And whereas Florida City Government Week is a very important time to recognize the important role played by city government in our lives. And whereas the Florida League of Cities and its member cities have joined together to teach students and other citizens about municipal government through a variety of different projects and information. And our city wants to also use this week to emphasize the importance of volunteering and giving back, because volunteering strengthens communities, solves problems, and improves lives. Now, therefore, I, Donald L. Burnett, Mayor of the City of Port Orange, Florida, do hereby recognize the week of October 16th through the 22nd of 2023 as Florida City Government Week, and with the seal of the city and my signature, it is so declared on this day and in this place. You can clap now, guys, it's okay. For those wishing for a quick meeting, we had to slow down just to clap for that, but I'm sorry. The agenda for the evening, okay, public comments on consent agenda. Item 6, would anyone care to comment on the consent agenda? Anything on the consent agenda? Robert, you're shaking your head, okay, so we're good. That brings us to agenda approval. May I have a motion for the approval of the agenda for the evening?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and proper second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any naysayers? There being none, the agenda for the evening is approved. With that, we have consent agenda items 8 through 13. I have a motion for approval.
Move to approve items 8 through 13 on consent.
Second.
We have a motion to approve items 8 through 13 on consent. Call the rolls.
Councilman Grubbs.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Foley.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. And with that, the consent agenda is approved, and that also includes 2 very important labor contracts. I want to thank everybody who worked hard on behalf of both our employees and the city, because there is nothing more important than what we do other than public safety. That's where it begins. We do an awful lot, but getting these contracts done to take care of our public safety employees in both police and fire so that they can continue to serve our citizens is of vital importance. And I thank everybody involved in getting this done for our employees so that they can continue to serve you. Public participation agenda, item 14, the Sweetwater Coalition Spruce Creek Riverworks.
Good evening, everyone. I did have some slides to share, and I think you should all maybe have a copy, so I'll jump right in.
Do me a favor, just tell me your name for the record.
I'd be delighted. My name is Lori Sandman, and I am a Port Orange resident, a local citizen, small business owner. I have a law firm down in Daytona Beach, and I've come here to talk to you tonight about a group of citizens and scientists and individuals who've come together regarding the Pioneer Trail interchange. And Mr. Derek LaMontagne is going to be with me tonight. He's not here, so I'll plow through this by myself. I'm going to keep it quick. we just wanna make everybody aware that there is a petition that has been filed for a hearing, which is going to happen next week. And that hearing is surrounding the permit for the Pioneer Trail interchange. Again, we are about the science. We've come together as a function of looking at the impacts of development in wetlands and in areas that are required for our percolation of surface and groundwater, stormwater percolation, and we're concerned about the location of this project. And I'll be clear, you know, we're not opposed to an interchange, but we're concerned about the location of this particular project. And so I'll share with you some of the reasons why we're concerned about that. First of all, if you go down to the, am I able to do this? Is this? There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is the style of the hearing. The hearing is going to take place next week in front of the Judge Early, who is going to again hear our petition to challenge the permit. And again, it's not to challenge any intersection, it's to challenge this intersection at Pioneer Trail because of where it's being sited and the potential problems with that site. So I'll give you a little bit. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about why we're opposed to the project. This project, the proposed Pioneer Trail interchange, is about a 74-acre project. 84% of the land in this project are wetlands or standing water. Okay, so that's a significant amount of wetlands to be going into, and it makes a project like this more expensive and the impacts quite significant. The housing and commercial development that we expect to come around the interchange are going to be directly in those wetlands. Okay, where does the water go when they back up, when the flooding happens? Where does the surface water get directed? It gets directed into our Spruce Creek. And this is an outstanding Florida water body here in Port Orange and Volusia County that is critical and important for everything from wildlife to, again, water management. And we're deeply concerned about what the runoff to the Spruce Creek could mean. And particularly what it could mean in terms of flooding. We're concerned about the flooding of the area. We've seen both large and small storms that are having increasing impacts, and it's because we're paving the ground that is our groundwater discharge area and recharge area. So we ask the question, why build in the wetland? It costs more, there's a lot of impacts, and we are again deeply concerned about flooding. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that concern as we run through a couple more quick slides for you. Here is a look at the Pioneer Trail interchange. The pink and orange that you are seeing on the left is how it looks today. Pink and orange on the right are the wetlands that will be disturbed. Okay, and it's important to note again, I can show you another map. The area that we're talking about is down here where my arrow is, and you can see that this is a tributary to the outstanding Florida water body, and it is a small tributary to the Spruce Creek, and this is what we're dumping into. The proposed mitigation bank for this is in Farmton. It's not even in this county. So we're going to damage our wetlands. We're going to compromise our ability for water to permeate and potentially look at flooding as a result. And we're doing it right over the imperiled Spruce Creek. One other important thing that we are concerned about, that we don't feel that that FDOT has accurately predicted. Again, there's stormwater models that haven't been dealt with. We don't believe, in view of the current rainwater models that we've seen. And the other thing that we are deeply concerned of that we don't feel that FDOT and the St. John's Water Management District have addressed is some of the geology. There's some basic geology that is gonna result in flooding. And one of the major factors is this Atlantic coastal ridge that runs along here. You can see it actually causes the Spruce Creek to oxbow, to turn back on itself. And that geology is significant both to the floodwaters and also to problems that we will see with pollutants, potassium being one of them, and we're worried about runoff directly here on the Spruce Creek again in this outstanding Florida water body. So from there, just wanna point out one or two other things. What we would like to ask of you folks is that you maybe get behind us so we can stop long enough to put a BMAP in place and to get some studies in place that have the current models. We want to see models that include the storms of the last 2 years. They have been significant and the rainfall has shifted, and we want those included, and we want a BMAP put in place, and it's really important, a basin management action plan be put in place. We currently don't have one for the area, and we're asking that we get your support in trying to get this put in place. It is missing, again, it's important so that we have this, so both that we can address the loads and the pollution, and also know about where the water flows go. All right, so again, in summary, I just want to say why the proposed plan for the interchange is a bad idea. We're talking about irreversible environmental damage. The land is right next to our Doris Leeper Preserve. Some of the land was promised to the preserve to complete the build out of the Doris Leeper Park, okay? And we believe that that there is going to be consequences that we're not prepared to mitigate. There's extreme costs of going into a wetland instead of providing an interchange at a different location. We are concerned, there are a lot of people will say, well, we need this interchange here because we need to get traffic directed off of Dunlawton. I'm here to tell you I don't believe that's true. I think Williamson traffic is going to amplify so significantly that it's going to clog both the arteries out of it. So we have evidence we're putting on next week that the hurricane routes on Pioneer Trail are going to be a disaster. Okay, if those of you know where Pioneer Trail exits out, it's in a community of small houses at a stop sign, and that is where we're proposing to put this I-95 traffic, is to send it that way into New Smyrna Beach. So real concerns about that. They haven't been transparent about the plans and what they mean. I don't know if any of you know, but there's going to be a roundabout planned. There are stub roads plans that have no purpose other than to serve the developers who are putting money towards this project. So that's another thing I'd like to raise concerns over, and certainly the flooding implications are really important. I want you to know that we've...
I'm sorry, I just want to pause you. What roundabout are you speaking about?
There's a rotary plan.
I know what it is. Where are you talking about
It's
that?
going just east of the
It's not
plan
part of the
proposed.
interchange?
It is part of the.
It's not part of the interchange?
Well, it's part of the plan to, it's part of what will happen with the building of the interchange, okay? It is part of that. Okay, so I just want to share that we have some ways to help. You folks can get behind us in asking that this be stopped long enough to get the BMAPs in place, to get the study in place for how it's gonna impact flooding. I live in the Spruce Creek Fly-In. The pilots are concerned about the airport flooding and what it's gonna do to our costs for insurance. So look at SaveDon'tPave, SpruceCreek.com if you want some more information. Also, feel free to call me anytime if I can help. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments? No comment cards?
We have,
Did you fill out a card, Robert? Can you fill one out real quick for me? Then we can get to council comments and speak some actual truth.
That's a great question.
All yours, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. I've known Derek for quite a while now, since he was on the Environmental Advisory Board. And it seems to me that whole time he's been talking about there not being a BMAP, the Basin Management Action Plan. And I would encourage you, as I understand it, that is a state requirement that once this water body is identified as impaired, they have to create this BMAP. And I would encourage you to get behind an effort to get that accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Any others? Okay. Council comments. Ree, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for your comment, Robert. You know, I really wish that you would have been able to accept my nomination that I had offered you to serve on the River to Sea TPO on the bicycle committee when I'd offered that, because you are very involved, and you know, I know you read through things, and man, it would have been a huge asset to them to have someone like you for things not only like this project, but all the projects that the TPO deals with. So it reminds me, hearing you comment just reminds me that it's a shame you're not on there. You know, as far as the presentation, thank you for doing that. I've got some questions I'll say, and then if you could email me with maybe an answer or two. I'd like to know how long it takes to get a BMAP. That's not something I have readily available as far as information, but I would definitely like to know that. How long does that take? Because when you're talking about postponing projects, I've had many conversations with you know, people who I consider to be environmentalists. At times I consider myself to be one. That's actually how I got my start in the city of Port Orange, was serving on our environmental advisory board. And I always caution people that if you become so far on one side of not wanting something and so against, if you start to become where you're against everything instead of being for something, it can be very, very difficult to have progress. Progress to me is not stopping things from happening. Progress is making them as good as they can possibly be and learning from mistakes and taking steps forward. So, you know, I mean, I love to read about inventors, and how many times they have to fail to really get it right. It's so important to take what you learn from each experience and make it better and better and better. And so to me, I've always thought it's really a good idea to try to find a way to get a seat at the table and to bring positive information so that you're not in a position where you're like against the people, but you're working with them to make the project as good as possible. And that's just my personal approach to things. Whether I agree with what's happening or not, I always try to make it the best I can. And I think all of us do that up here as a council. There are a lot of times that we don't get our way, but we work together and try to hammer it out and do the best we can for our residents. So, but I'd really like to know how long it takes to get a BMAP, what that process is like, and then I'd also, you know, I'd say the roundabout thing. I don't know how that applies to this project. It has nothing to do with the interchange itself. So it really doesn't apply to the. And it really doesn't apply to the presentation.
Sorry, your time's up.
And also, I would say, you know, according to FDOT, the TPO, and other environmentalists I speak to, they're very pro-roundabout simply because they are the single most efficient way to get cars through an area without having more emissions from vehicles from stopping and going.
Yeah.
So I'd caution being negative against that, because I think it's probably the most positive thing if there's going to be any changes in traffic. But I'll leave that at that.
I wouldn't put a roundabout everywhere, but I wouldn't.
No, yeah.
I wouldn't just discount it.
But it does help with fuel efficiency standards, and therefore it helps with carbon emissions. So if that's something you prioritize, I'd put some thought into that. But yeah, if you can give me an answer on the BMAP thing, I would really like to know that. And then I just want to touch on a couple other things. Also, Mayor already said it, very happy about the labor contracts to get those done and make some progress. I know there was some compromise on each side, especially thank you to staff for all that you do guys, our negotiation team, and keeping us well informed. We appreciate that. I mentioned this last meeting, October 27th, Fun and Funky for the Art House. It's at the Hard Rock. They are inviting everyone. I think everyone here received an invitation. It should be a great event. And I know that they've really been working hard. They've had that, and then they had the chalk thing for Family Days, which I missed. I didn't make it over here once, and I'm so sorry. You guys will have to fill me in on what I missed, but I've heard nothing but good things from our residents. And then finally, Wayne and I were discussing this at lunch, because I believe I brought this up at the last meeting, maybe the meeting before, about really having some interest in developing a Parks and Rep application for the city. I know Wayne did a little bit of research, got a little bit of information, and if council's open-minded, I'd like to see it come back as an agenda item for some presentation and some more, at least informationally, so we could discuss it. Wayne, could you maybe just kind of touch on that for them for a little bit?
We found a county that I think you found it on the internet. So we found the county's app that was built off of a tourism app. So it was helping you find. So one of the challenges we're working through now, there was the notification component of it isn't as strong as they would like it to be. So we're going to get with Susan and with our IT staff and Jim and see what we can do and bring back to you basically detailed information with cost information, what its pros and cons are, and then take your direction from there.
So as long as everyone else is okay with that, I'd like to at least see what it looks like.
Sure.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Wayne.
Scott, what you got for us?
Just a brief comment. We lost a true treasure in the city of Port Orange recently. Jim Richards, some of you guys know him as Pops, served in the city for over 25 years, served as a volunteer with the police department for more than 2 decades. And if anybody ever wondered who the person was actually wearing the McGruff crime suit in July, when it's got to be 130 degrees inside that suit, it was Jim more often. I can't imagine. It would be awesome to know how many schools and children he interacted with and visited with and put a smile on their faces every time he put that suit on. It was really something, and just an incredible human being. One of the nicest people you could have ever met. Anybody that had a chance to know Jim, work with Jim, serve with Jim, you're better for it without question. And we don't have his obituary here tonight with us, but that'll be coming out soon. And I'd like to ask council for the honor to read that obituary into the city record once we do have our hands on it.
Absolutely.
And just everybody keep the family, the Richards family, in their thoughts and prayers. So
Absolutely.
he's a true treasure of the city of Port Orange that'll be missed for sure. That's all I got.
Drew, what you got for us?
Don't really have anything, but I just, agree with Reed's comments and, the whole, in lieu of just saving time, just agreeing with what's been said up here tonight. So.
Okay. Tracy, what you got?
So dealing with the zoning down where the interchange want to be, one of the concerns I have is it was a PUD mixed use. And you take 58 acres and you look at a PUD mixed use. People are always talking about how that and what that means. You can end up having approximately 340 homes on it. You can have approximately 700 condos and apartments on it. You can cover up a whole lot more ground with apartments, condos, and concrete that's going to be spraying pesticides and everything else to take care of the grass than what an interchange can be also. So sometimes it can be a double-edged sword. What's going to go into place if one gets killed, something else could come in it and be absolutely worse. Not saying that's what's going to happen, but it is something that has to be taken in thoughts, because having it go worse going into that canal would be detrimental. I go to Doris Leeper Park quite a bit, so I understand the rise and the fall of that area, because many miles rode on that bike trail. So it is a concern, yes. One other thing that was brought up 2 weeks ago, Will Roberts came in as the tax collector and gave a presentation dealing with PACE for individuals dealing with deceptive practices, I guess would be the nice polite way of taking advantage of individuals. This past Saturday, a piece of mail came out, and they're targeting all of Port Orange. It's nice and simple. It says public notice, and you open it up, and it very plainly in 2 languages starts about the program that is offered through PACE, through the government and aid. A lot of people got these in their mailboxes. All I can say is you need to double check and make sure that the vendor is approved through Port Orange, and that you're not being hornswoggled, I guess is the politest way I can put it, when you're signing a contract. A lot of people have been taking advantage on this. So if you have questions, please email me and I can give you more information on that, because it's really a bad deal. Lastly is Port Orange Family Days. Wow, you couldn't have asked for better weather. I was down there, just absolutely gorgeous. Port Orange Community Trust did a great job. Parks and Recreations, you guys just nailed it out of the ballpark. Everybody that came by my booth, because I was set up for my business also, was just great talking to and great reviews. So thank you for everything the staff and everybody did. You did a great job. Thank you.
Good? I just took the words out of my mouth for Family Days. It's amazing, tens of thousands of people who descend upon City Center that weekend. And the hard work that goes into it, the coordination between the Port Orange Community Trust, just what they have to do, much less with our Parks and Rec and our public safety departments here. Absolutely great work. Appreciate everybody that did. And Scott, I've got to thank you. This was your idea for us to show up in pink today, even though Reed doesn't quite know what pink is, but it's close.
It's close.
It's in the shade, fam.
I'm color deficient. Give me a break.
Declared
It's a shade
September
of pink.
gold as a month to go gold in support of childhood cancer, and then of course it is the month of October after all. So we stand in solidarity and support of awareness of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So Scott, well done. Appreciate you for that, brother. And of course, when it comes to projects like it was talked about tonight that would have a positive impact on traffic and infrastructure and improvement on Williamson, our greatest choke point, as much as an 8 to 10% improvement on traffic flow, the thousands of cars that it could take through that choke point a day. I want them to do this project, and I want them to do it right, and I want them to minimize the impact. And it's interesting because there are other interchanges being proposed in Edgewater right now, and other areas that, as we add them, and frankly, as we continue to grow in population in the United States, we're going to continue to grow whether we want to or not, but can we do it smartly? A lot of times where we get in trouble is when we don't add infrastructure proactively. And we're already a little bit behind the 8 ball here. And this is something that will serve us and New Smyrna well into the future, along with many other things. But this is a chance to be somewhat proactive and improve the flow of things in our own town by nature of what goes on below us. Like I said, I want every project to be done right and done well as best the impact, but this is certainly one that's been talked about for almost 2 decades now. So this is not a new project. But I will say this is a state project. It's their purview. They're going to execute it. And if you want to talk to anybody about whether you like it or hate it or want it improved or you disagree with components about that, that's where you should talk to. We have state representatives right here in the area, and they are the ones that have impact on it. And if you haven't given your voice to them about whether you support it or not, then bringing it here, so be it. That's a choice, and that's fine. You can entertain, enlighten, inform, whatever it is that you want to do, and you've had an audience, and you've been able to. There are people watching at home and will be watching at home on YouTube, and they can dig in and learn more about it. But I do know that transportation infrastructure is a critical need, And if the state's willing to spend dollars on it, I like that, because quite frankly, our ability to keep up with transportation and infrastructure as we continue to have population growth is going to get harder and harder and harder. And here's something that we do have right in front of us. So I hope that the state executes it as quickly as possible, but I also want them to do it right and do it well. With that, board appointments, interviews, and reports. Citizens Advisory Committee for the TPO, Mr. Bobby Ball.
President Volleyball.
Bobby Ball, CSC for the TPO. Had our monthly meeting today, and pretty much standard stuff. Nothing really big. The biggest item we had was an item on apportionment and how the board's going to vote moving forward. And up until now, it's been strictly based upon population and percentages. And they're proposing a change to making everybody's vote equal. And it really, it's interesting because only four cities I think have greater than the 4.76 percentage that you would get anyway. And so at the end of the day, the remaining 16 or so, or whatever it is, number of spots can outvote this particular item, and it will go this way anyway. But in any case, now everybody's going to get 4.6%, 4.76% of a vote. So just something to know. And with that, I don't think I have any more questions. Although you have asked me before to update you on I-95, it sounds like you know where I-95 stands. And at this point, I asked today again, like I do every quarter. And the PD&E study is either complete or almost complete, the DOT representative said, and the funding is programmed already. So,
Bobby, you don't have to speak to it tonight unless you know off the top, but when you come back in a future meeting to talk, if you could kind of maybe bring us back some information and updates outside the scope of that project, like as far as the county's longer term plans for the widening of Pioneer Trail going westward and things like that.
Sure.
And maybe also where they're at with the design and permitting for Pioneer and Tomoka Farms Road intersection. I know there was
there's a roundabout
I think they
proposed over
approved the
there.
roundabout design
They did.
there, and I just didn't know where they were with the timeline. But that is one. I live out that way, and it's amazing they put out. There's got to be. Well, there's at least 8 stop signs because there's 2 on each side in each direction.
Yeah.
They put those rumble strip things down. They got flat, and people just still blow through all that. It helped for about 3 or 4 months, and then everybody gets accustomed to it, and they just, and you just go out there all the time. There's crash after crash after crash. So anyhow, if you could
I'll follow up
at some point, yeah, and
Yep.
just let us know, kind of give us an idea, because that's the one thing that a lot of residents, they know the interchange is coming. Most of the folks that I talk to, they want it to come. They know we need it. They know the infrastructure needs to get there soon. But the question is like outside the scope of that, because there is some well-founded concern, like, okay, well, what happens when everybody gets off of 95? Where are they going? And you can't come off of 95 and just all of a sudden boom, slam down into these tiny little roads. And so, I think there's some concern with that. I know there's, I saw there's a really big development that has now started and broke ground on the New Smyrna side of Pioneer Trail recently, and I believe there's another one coming just east of that here pretty soon. But so I do get those questions. I get those kind of questions way more than I do about the interchange themselves. So
I can follow up.
Yeah.
I'll add that to my list.
Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else for Bobby? Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby.
Item 17, Planning Commission appointments. We have 3 openings, 2-year terms. We have 1 planning commissioner, and she is present, who wishes to be reappointed. We have 1 application that we'd received prior to the meeting, and we had 1 additional applicant that came in late today. Before I ask for nominations for those present, would the current commissioner, Murray Mills Bennett, come up here and tell us why you want to be reappointed?
She loves the pay.
It can't because of pay and benefits.
I knew you were gonna make me come up here.
Absolutely.
Maria Mills Bennett, 1710 Bordeaux Court, Port Orange, current Planning Commission Vice Chair. And somebody's gotta keep those boys in line. So, here I am.
Perfect.
You're gonna leave with that, okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
And I don't think Tim wants me to go anywhere because he needs all the help he can get.
We appreciate your service. Any
course.
questions for Maria?
You're doing a good job.
No
How many
meatball
terms have
question.
you served, Maria? Just curious. Is this your second or third? Will this be your third
Third,
term?
right.
I think this is my third, maybe fourth. I don't recall.
I'm just curious.
Between that and Parks and Rec, it's been a while.
We have
That's right, 'cause,
we have
yeah,
a
you did
20-term
that one.
limit, so just.
Oh, well, thank goodness.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking of
Maria.
Parks and Rec, our applicant, Mr. Mark Bowling, is here. Would you care to come up and tell us why you want the job?
He's just trying to follow me.
Oh, I can't have Maria come up and you have nothing to say.
Usually when Maria's in the room, nobody else gets a chance to say anything.
Because she's keeping everybody in line.
Can we make sure the two of you guys sit together up here when you?
Mark Bowling, 816 Pheasant Run Court, Port Orange. I've been in Port Orange since '87. I've been on the Parks and Recreation Board for several years. I talked to Susan. It looks like she already left. She said I do an adequate job there. So, I'm really concerned about what happens in Port Orange, and I think that through some of my professional experience, I could be helpful on the Planning Commission.
Okay. Council, any comments or questions?
Mark, same question. How many terms have you served by chance now?
On the
Planning Commission.
I'm
It's on the
not on the
Parks and
Planning
Rec.
Oh, that's-
Parks and
I've been
Rec.
on the Parks and Recreation Board. If
Been
there is
there-
a
you've
20,
been on Parks for quite some time.
yeah, if there's a 20-term limit, I'm there.
You're getting close.
Yeah.
Well, might have to amend something.
Any other?
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your willingness to serve as
Thank
well.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
And we had a late application today from Ronald Scott Stager, and I don't see him in the room, so we're unable to interview him. With that, are there any other applicants that I know about? We have 3 applicants and 3 appointments. Nominations are now open.
Move to nominate Maria Mills, Mark Bowling, and Scott Steger.
Second.
We have 3 nominations. We have a second. Are there any other nominations? I have to ask 3 times per Robert's Rule of Order. So, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? There being none, nominations are now closed. We have 3 nominations. Do we want to, council, do we want to vote separately? Do you want to vote as all 3 of them?
I'm good with it being a slate.
3. Because I'm asking that because it sounded like you were nominating as a slate, but you didn't specify that.
I apologize.
That was how your nomination
I
was?
nominated them as a slate.
Okay. With
I
that-
seconded them as a slate.
Okay.
There we
go.
go.
I wanted to be clear
Just-
before we
We'll
did
approve
this.
them as a
An
slate.
entire
I
slew
didn't
of
want a
them.
question coming up
Gotcha.
after we voted. With that, all in favor, signify by saying, you know what, we better call the roll. I'm gonna be safe.
Councilman Grubbs,
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Councilman Stillman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Foley.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. All 3
Mayor-
of them are hired, wait till they see her paying benefits.
Mayor, before you move on with that one, I just want to make a comment and thank John Junko and Newton White, who elected not to seek another term, but have both served the community in a huge capacity for many, many years. And both of them truly, their heart lies here in the city of Port Orange for sure. And so I just want to say thank you to John and Newton and wish them the best. And maybe it'll be a short break and they'll find another capacity. I know both of them are involved in a lot. And it's, folks like that, Maria, Mark, they're behind the scenes a lot. And I just don't think that our community really gets to see them and knows who they are and the amount of hours and hours and hours that they give of their own time. And they give up time away from their families. There's other special interest things like that. And so John and Newton have both done that for quite a while. And so I just want to personally say thank you to both of them.
Okay. With that, the public hearing portion of our meeting is now open. Item 18, second reading of ordinance number 2023-15. Ordinance number 2023-15 is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, creating Section 2-4 to implement the state statutory mandate to prepare business impact estimates prior to the adoption of proposed ordinances pursuant to Section 166.041-4 of the Florida statutes, providing for codification, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for scrivener's errors, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion, a second, to approve on second reading ordinance number 2023-15. Council, comments or questions?
No, the second reading.
Housekeeping.
There being none, it's sort of housekeeping. And we'll make the comment right now that it is housekeeping because we're required to do it by the state.
Yes.
But I'm not very fond of the fact that the state wants us to come up with business impact statements to businesses when we might want to pass zoning changes that positively impact our residents. And if it not everything we do is good for everybody. Sometimes the decisions we make are on the balance, is a good for the greater good. And if it negatively impacts a business, but in a minor way, this allows that business to sue us, even if it greatly positively impacts the citizens of the city. So I'm not fond of it, but we're following the law, which is what we should do. It is ministerial in nature that we do this because of that. I just don't like the fact that somebody else wants to tell us what to do when we're elected by the citizens of Port Orange to speak for them and decide what's best for our city. So I'm off my soapbox. Would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none, back to us. Final comments?
I'll just echo your comment, Mayor, because it's the one thing that, or not the one thing, there's several, but many times when residents talk to us about the perceived growth and development in your very local area, they perceive or misunderstand that a local elected body has a lot more authority to make decisions on how those things play out. And over the last, well, at least the last 4 or 5 years, there has been a tremendous amount of legislation significant legislation out of the state level that takes a lot of that authority and decision making away from the local officials who the residents think have it, and we don't. And this is another example of a state mandate being placed back down on municipalities. Again, giving a false perception that it's something we control when now we don't.
And just because it's bad for business, I'm sorry. I am a pro-business person. You know that about me. That's been my history. But I also can sit here and say not every business is good for our city. Not every business belongs in our city. And certainly just because it belongs in our city, it doesn't necessarily means it belongs anywhere.
Right.
You know, we put manufacturing in Eastport. We put commercial enterprises up and down Dunlawton where people can access them. And if something, and we try to preserve our neighborhoods, and if a business wants to be there or currently exists and something's changed, hey, you know what? We need to learn and grow and change and adapt with the best. And sometimes we're hamstrung by state law to do that, but at the end of the day, I will follow the law. Might not always like it, but I will follow the law. Enough said. With that, call the roll.
Councilman Grubbs.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Councilman Stillner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Foley.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Public hearing portion of the meeting is now closed. Additional items, Mr. City Attorney?
I want to thank you for following the law. And one point of clarification on the last one, it does not create a new cause of action for businesses. The only cause of action that is created is if we fail to do a business impact estimate. Zoning is technically excluded from the business impact estimate. We are going to cover ourselves and do business impact estimates for every ordinance, but zoning is an express exclusion from the statute.
Very good.
Thank you, Matt, for adding to the confusion. Appreciate you. Mr. City Manager, what have you have for us this week?
I don't have anything further.
Your report was even better than the City Attorney's. With that, Council Committee reports. Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce. Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce has an after hours this week at Aero Clinical Trials this Thursday from 5 to 7. Council, if you're able to attend, that's up at 1717 North Clyde Morris. Aero Clinical Trials is led by Dr. David Billmeyer, who's a Port Orange resident and had a family practice here for a long time, and has also contributed to some of the video some of the mayor videos that we've done in interview sessions during certain states of the emergency and trying to educate people more on COVID and things like that. So if you're able to support him, I'd appreciate that. And then also First Step Shelter. First Step Shelter is working on its next big event, which will be coming up in early spring. The Mayor's Gala, which is the Daytona Beach Mayor's Gala, in support of that. You all will be getting invitations to that. And I also wanted to let everybody know that the First Step Shelter has passed a milestone with its existence over the last 2 years. 80% of the people that have graduated, so to speak, from First Step Shelter are still in housing. After 2 years, they're still in housing. So I would call that a rousing success. And I would also encourage our citizens to support the First Step Shelter. Just keep in mind, I know a lot of people, their hearts go out to panhandlers, but when you give a panhandler $1, more often than not, you're supporting a bad habit that they may or may not have. You're not always buying them food. You might be buying their alcohol. Whereas if you give that $1 to the First Step Shelter, 100% of that money is going to help people who need it the most. And because of the economies of scale, those dollars also go a lot farther to help more people. So keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be First Step Shelter. It could be any charity along those lines. But if we truly want to make a difference, in my opinion anyway, that's the best way to do it, is to put it in the hands of those that can make the biggest difference in the lives of individuals. With that, thank you very much. I appreciate staff's hard work with Family Days and getting our public safety unions up to speed, and look forward to all good things to come. With that, everybody, have a good night.